Once upon a time, there lived a girl named Olaedo. Olaedo lived with her two sisters, Adanna and Mmesoma, in a very small hut by the riverside. Olaedo was a very calm and intelligent girl who loved her family deeply. One day, this was when Olaedo was 10 years old. Her family noticed that she suddenly stopped speaking, and all efforts to make her speak yielded no positive result. Her parents took her to several herbalists and healers as they believed Olaedo might have stopped speaking due to an ailment, but still no one could figure out why she never spoke again. Several years passed, and Olaedo's family at this point had been accustomed to her not speaking. One early morning, this was during the planting season, Olaedo's parents were preparing to go to the farm when suddenly Olaedo spoke up and told them not to go to the farm that day. Everyone was in complete shock as they had not heard her voice in years. Her parents were puzzled and requested to know why Olaedo was preventing them from going to the farm, knowing that this was planting season, but Olaedo kept mute. Her parents, on seeing that she had refused to tell them why, proceeded to the farm as they had so many crops to plant. On their way to the farm, a very huge tree fell and crushed them both to death. Before the news broke of their parents' death, Olaedo was home crying profusely, and her sisters did not know why. A short while later, news reached their household of the tragic death of their parents, who would have been alive if they heeded to Olaedo's warning. Olaedo's sisters were now filled with so much fear as they questioned why Olaedo suddenly told their parents not to go to the farm that morning. Did she know that this would happen? They approached Olaedo to ask, but their questions were met with complete silence. What they did not know was that their sister Olaedo could see the future. As they were mourning the death of their parents, they could not fight the thought that their sister Olaedo could be possessed. Fear suddenly crept in, and Adanna and Mmesoma began to keep their distance from Olaedo. Every day, they would leave the house very early in the morning before Olaedo woke up and return very late at night when they believed Olaedo would be asleep. They avoided their sister as much as they could till one fateful day. Adanna and Mmesoma returned home very late at night and noticed that Olaedo was not in bed. They searched for her everywhere, but she was nowhere to be found. This got them worried, as Olaedo had never been away by this time of the night. They stayed up all night waiting for her to return, but Olaedo never returned. By morning, Adanna and Mmesoma searched around the village, but their sister was nowhere to be found. They immediately began to regret how they treated their sister after their parents' death and hoped she returned home soon. Adanna and Mmesoma, while searching for Olaedo, got information about a powerful seer who lived in the neighboring village. The seer was said to be the most powerful seer around, so Mmesoma and Adanna made up their minds to journey to the neighboring village in search of this seer. They wanted to consult the seer to know the whereabouts of their sister Olaedo. On their way to the seer's hut, they came across a very old woman sitting by the bush path. They quickly rushed to find out what was wrong with the woman, and the old woman told them that she was too weak to walk and needed help getting home. Seeing that it was almost dark, Adana and Mmesoma then decided to assist the old woman to her hut, which was a long distance from where they met her. When they arrived at the old woman's hut, it was already dark, and the old woman pleaded with them to sleep over, as it was too dark for them to continue their journey. The sisters agreed and stayed over at the old woman's hut that night. By morning, Adana and Mmesoma bid the old woman farewell as they continued on their journey to meet the powerful seer. After several hours of walking, they arrived at the seer's hut but met no one there. They shouted to see if anyone was around and heard a sound coming from the back of the hut. They walked towards the back to check if anyone was there when they caught sight of their sister, who was tied up in the small hut behind. They were in so much shock at this point as they hurriedly untied their sister and began to run with her. They ran far away from the seer's hut and decided not to go back home, as they believed the seer would come looking for them there. Adana then suggested that they go to the old woman's hut instead, as it would be safer for them there. When they arrived at the old woman's hut, the old woman looked at them and smiled. "I have been waiting for you," she said, as she walked with them slowly into her hut. All this while, Olaedo had still not said a word. The old woman then looked at Olaedo and told her that she had a very rare power which she ought to protect, especially as the evil seer was hell-bent on taking the power from her. The evil seer, who Olaedo's sisters had gone in search of unknowingly, left her hut the previous evening in search of Mmesoma and Adana. She was in search of their tears, which she wanted to use to facilitate the transfer of Olaedo's powers to herself. It happened that the evening Olaedo's sisters saw the old woman laying by the bush path. The old woman purposely fell to prevent the sisters from meeting the seer on their way. The old woman was also a powerful seer who saw a vision after catching sight of Olaedo's sisters from a distance. She then pretended to have fallen by the roadside to divert their movement so that they will not meet the evil seer on their path. The old woman then told Olaedo to protect her seeing power, as the evil seer was hell-bent on taking the power from her. The evil seer had gone to their house in their village in search of Olaedo's sisters to obtain their tears, but met their huts empty. The old woman went on to reveal that although Adana and Mmesoma did not have the gift of seeing, their tears was powerful, as it was the only thing that could make it possible for the evil seer to take Olaedo's powers. The old woman then said that the only way Olaedo would stop this from happening was if she took her sister's tears and rubbed it on her eyes. With this, no one would be able to take her powers, and Olaedo would also regain her speech fully and begin to talk. Olaedo, on hearing this, took her sister's tears and rubbed on her eyes, and immediately she began to talk. Her seeing power was now locked in her eyes, and no one would be able to take her power from her. Her sisters were astonished, as they never knew that their tears were powerful. They were so grateful to the old woman and thanked her for guiding and saving them. Knowing that no one would be able to take Olaedo's powers now, the sisters then set out on their journey back to their village. On their way, they caught sight of the evil seer, who was so shocked to see Olaedo free with her sisters. She immediately blew a powder to their faces, and they all began to cry profusely. She quickly took their tears and rubbed it on her eyes. Immediately, everywhere turned dark for the seer, who began to shout that her eyes were now hurting. She could no longer see, and when Olaedo and her sisters noticed this, they ran away from her and did not stop running till they got to their village. The powerful seer was now blind, as she did not know that Olaedo's seeing power was now locked to her eyes alone and incapable of being transferred to anyone else. Once the powerful seer rubbed their tears on her eyes, she not only lost her seeing powers, but also lost her sight in the process. This happened because seers are unable to see things about themselves as well as other seers. This was the reason why the evil seer was unable to see that Olaedo had sealed her eyes before she attempted to steal her power. That was how Olaedo and her sisters survived the evil seer, who remained blind all her life without her seeing powers. Olaedo also began to speak and soon learned how to control her seeing power. Her sisters later apologized to her for how bad they treated her when their parents died, and Olaedo forgave her sisters as she loved them so much not to forgive. The lesson to be learned from this story is that if it does not belong to you, do not take it. Oftentimes, we lose what we have because we are in a constant pursuit of that which belongs to others. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.